Pop, what's going on, man?
No more optimistic Pop.
Man,
He's
welcome.
on vacay.
It ain't good over here. I'll tell you that much. It ain't fun being on this side of the line, and I don't like coming on here and being right when I say bad things about the team. But oof, that was just awful today. I mean, for those of you who are just checking in with us, maybe you're just recapping with us, didn't get a chance to see the game, or just saw the score, or whatever. Um, More than likely, you're just commiserating with us as we'll all kind of grieve through this frustration together. But the Cowboys beat us 44-22 today. Um, it was just an absolute whooping. Top to bottom, I'll go over some of the key moments. I think be a little bit of a departure from the normal pod structure for post game pod because, frankly, not a lot of good to take away from individual moments in that game or how the game went. Obviously, headlines are Jaden got hurt um, midway through the
Doesn't
third
seem too
quarter.
serious.
Doesn't seem too serious, but we'll touch on that in a bit. And overall, just got ran over by what we felt like and most of the media felt like was an inferior team. And unfortunately, that sounds quite familiar for how things have been going this year. So we're going to be taking a bit of a departure. There's not going to be awards today. Not going to be kickouts of the game. The kickouts of the game started with 15 minutes to go in the first quarter.
The defense, especially.
Yeah.
We'll give them an extra award.
The kickouts of the game started at about 1:25 p.m. Pacific, 4:25 Eastern today, and it went on for about 3.5 hours. That was the kickouts of the game. And yeah, so just getting into it, I'll just break down some key moments. Game started off exactly how you would expect. 5 plays, 66 yards, 1 minute, 55 seconds. Dallas touchdown to start the game. Exactly how you would expect that one to go. So we said, okay, play ball. And I text our group chat. I just said, weather the storm. Team always starts slow. Let's see if we can dig our ways out of this one. Because that's what we've seen for
And we kind of did.
7 weeks now.
We kind of did dig out for a bit there.
Yeah, and so we go 3 and out. We punt the ball. Then we get a safety on the first play, and you go, okay, a little bit of life. What do we got? Drive down the field, 7 plays, 65 yards, touchdown. You go, okay, here we go. Team's looking all right. We'll only hold them to a field goal after that. And then punt, touchdown, punt. Downs, field goal, punt, touchdown, and then we score. So
all the touchdowns are Dallas, by the way.
All the touchdowns are Dallas until that last one, which is we drive down the field, 7 plays, 68 yards, minute and 10 seconds, minute and 11
Great
seconds.
Drive.
Great drive to get to cut the lead to 15-20, and you're going, hey, wait, we get the ball back. Okay, there's only 45 seconds left on the clock. This should be okay. And then all hell breaks loose. George Pickens catches a pass for 45 yards down the sideline, which is just a case of like good offense always beats good defense. I think Lattimore had him covered well. It just was an insane play by the two of them. And then Javonte Williams breaks a 33-yard run, which is unacceptable in that scenario. And they score a touchdown. And then so you go into the end of half, what you were thinking was going to be 15-20. You now go into the end of half completely neutralizing that lead that you took. You go down 15-27. And then you just completely blow it at that point. Completely blow it from there on out. Daniels fumbles and gets hurt on the first drive, and that's it.
Yeah, you're down 12 at half, and you think, okay, well, we had a good drive, put up 15 in the first half. You think, okay, well, 15 points is pretty good production. Although you've given up. What was the score at halftime?
You gave up 27 points.
Yeah, 27-15. So, yeah, you just. I mean, at the end of the day, you can't win playing defense like that. You just can't. You can't be a sieve. You can't give up 27 points and a half. There's just Yes, is the offense firing all cylinders? No, it's not. A lot of that's injury related. I mean, you have your top weapons on the team. We were kind of able to get away with not having Terry and Noah Brown because Debo is such a weapon and is such a guy. You think about the Luke McCaffrey touchdown last week. Debo was such a decoy on that. That's what caused Luke to get so open, right? And I saw Coach Quinn breaking that play down with Logan Paulson. He was talking about that. And I
Yeah.
thought to myself as I was watching that, it was a pregame show, coach's show. I thought, oh, we don't have Debo this week.
Yep.
So that decoy, that talent, and it is a big factor. Injuries are a big factor. Our quarterback hasn't been on the field. We can't get our top weapons, and it's unfortunate, and it's not a championship formula, or maybe not even a playoff formula by any means. But this team is just going to go as the offense goes.
Hmm. And it's like, I don't know. It was brutal to watch because Dallas just came out and they stacked the box and they manned us up every down.
That's
And there's
most
nothing
frustrating.
there's nothing we can do about it with what we have available currently.
Yeah.
And some of that for me right now, like the injuries are so not the headline. I mean, obviously the Jane Daniels injury is the headline right now, but at the end of the day, I'll give you a real pop glass half full take on that. The knee is clearly still not 100%. It's good enough that he can go. This new hammy probably gives him enough time off that the knee gets back to 100% and we can get that brace off and we can take a deep breath. So I'll give you a little bit of optimism on that because, frankly, whatever delusions of grandeur we had about a deep playoff run for this team are long by the wayside at this point. I'm not thinking about that. They can't be thinking about that.
You
We
can't
got to
be.
look at the schedule and go, when's the next win that you feel good about? Miami and Madrid? Like,
Well,
do you see the Giants again before then? And even then, like, what has shown up these last few weeks?
yeah, I mean, I think, look, I get it. And it's what we do, especially when you've got a podcast and stuff, and we do it all the time, radio shows, podcasts, you know, gonna project. We're gonna project. You know, how can you be confident at all going into Kansas City next week with very likely a backup quarterback and who knows? And I've got a little something to say about these injuries, and in a little bit, I'll save that. But who knows? When Terry will be back. Who knows when Debo will be back? No, Brown's on IR. So, yeah, I mean, and then the running game. I mean, granted, we all knew that the Cowboys were going to stuff the box, but it was awful. This was Bill's worst game as a pro.
Yeah, he's come
Two
back
and a
down to
half yards
earth.
a carry, right? Couldn't get going, and what upset me, like, I think some of the offensive woes are understandable. The defense wasn't going to be able to stop their offense. I just hate how good we made their defense look. And maybe that's a result of the receivers, but at some point, somebody brought up a great point about the Bears game. If you think of the last drive of the Bears game, right after the fumble, we knew they were going to try to run the ball, and we couldn't stop it. So how
Yeah,
come we can't stack the box and stop the run? And another team who absolutely is terrible against the run can suddenly stop the box and shut us down. Is this offensive line as good as we've been giving it credit for? Right. And, you know, I'm not one to, I'm not big on, I'm as every bit as down on what we've seen so far this season as you are and everyone else as a fan. So I'm not going to try to go glass half full here. But I know there's 10 games to go, and there's no way to project. We're going to win a couple that, we're not supposed to. We're probably going to lose a couple more that we're not supposed to. I think if this team can get back and get fully healthy, I think they can be a real problem. But when is that going to occur? And how do you compensate for such a bad defense? I mean,
that's
at some
the
point, you got to start shaking things up and playing the young guys.
well, that's the
Can't
thing
be
is
any
like
worse.
if you put Terry McLaurin out there today, great. Jaden can probably get the ball out of his hands a little bit faster. There's a little more. You have to keep a little more honest defensively. Maybe some of those early moments in the game where you're lacking complementary football. Maybe some of those moments you can you go punt downs. Maybe you have an opportunity to score there. Maybe some of these things change. But at the end of the day, you gave up 44 points. How many NFL games can you win giving up 44 points? I mean, we were saying it about Baltimore earlier in the year. You say it every year about teams. It does not matter how good your offense is if you can't. And it's sickening to me. Frankly, it's sickening to me that in that Bears game, when we fumble in Chicago territory, by the way, they still have to gain like 30, 40 yards. Every single one of us almost just turned the game off.
Yeah.
You don't even think about it. You have the opportunity to make a stop. You have the opportunity to make a change. Even when Jaden goes out hurt in that sequence, right? You're only down 12. You have the opportunity to make a stop. What happens? 9 plays, 55 yards, 4-minute touchdown. There's no 45 seconds left in the half. The one thing you can't do is give up explosive plays after your offense just laid it on the line and gave you a chance to get back into the game. And what do?
That's horrendous. I mean, to me, that's if we were going to hand out a Cat's moment of the game, the fact that you allowed them to go 4 plays, 72 yards, in 35 seconds.
Yeah.
To score.
It's atrocious. I mean, there was time left on the clock for us. We had to go back out and take a knee.
No, you had the perfect scenario in most situations when there's only a minute 11 left on the clock and you just scored and you're going to get the ball back to start the half. It was like the perfect scenario. We're in this thing.
This is the second week in a row I've watched into two of our defensive backs run into each other in the backfield. Quan Martin tackled Marshawn Lattimore on that CD Lamb touchdown. Now, Marshawn got torched. Don't get it twisted. And we'll talk about that. But Quan tackled him on that play. And Quan, I don't know. I don't even want to, you know what? We're not going to talk about it because I don't want to waste time talking about individuals. Because frankly, the issue for me is much deeper than one guy. Because you know what? This team was 7-2 last year with Emmanuel Forbes and Benjamin St. Juste as your starting outside corners. So this issue to me personally, and I'm getting worked up, and I told myself it wasn't. I'm going to bring it back down.
It's okay.
Personally, to me, this issue and the reason why I'm so upset and the reason why, I was watching the game today, I wasn't emotional. I know you don't believe it for me talking about it now, but I genuinely was sitting on the couch chilling because I was just like, this is not a serious football team. This is not. At this stage right now, with the amount of injuries, it's not a serious football team. And you have to look at what's going on culturally. I'll say that right away. It's easy to have good culture and brotherhood when you start the season off 7-2 and no one expected you to be good and you go 12-5. Now, good culture and brotherhood contributes to that, but that's also an easy thing to maintain at this point. This team is flat week in and week out. They're lost out there. You hear the same things in pressers every single week. These are patterns. These are things that in my 28 years of wearing these colors and watching this football team, I have seen when wheels come off of carts. And the wheels today.
Well, the wheels are off.
Beyond off. Yeah.
No, they're off the cart now. It doesn't mean that they can't go put the cart in the shop, put the wheels back on, and turn things around. There's time in the season to turn things around. I am not gonna. Does it look good right now? It absolutely doesn't, and there's no way to sugarcoat that. There really isn't, because when you make the Dallas Cowboys, who up to this point aren't a very good football team, look like they looked, they just wiped us off the field. It was an embarrassing performance, and I've said this before. And maybe it'd be a much more controversial statement if, we were a national show or something, which we'd love to be at some point. But, brotherhood, culture, all that stuff is fine. But like, our Ravens insider was saying, right? I was talking to him today about it because he's a big Ravens fan. So we're both suffering, right? The NFL's hard, man. It's hard. And you got to go up against a really talented group of players and a really talented offense like the Cowboys do have, as much as it pains me to say. And our only
Had a hard time
opportunity,
for
I
saying
do
that last
think,
week from you, by the way.
I know, I was trying to look, I was trying to
I'm
lean into
teasing.
it.
I'm
You know
teasing. Continue.
what really got me, and I'll just give you my personal journey, as I was definitely trying to lean into. I'm not going to give the Cowboys all that respect. You know, they don't have a when we found out that Debo wasn't playing, and we found out that Terry wasn't playing, which we sort of figured, but I just figured, okay, we've been pretty effective with Debo in the lineup. I figured he's been nursing that heel all all season. He'd be able to go out there and play. We found out he was out. My confidence went in the you know went in the
Too.
trash. It was done, and I'll just explain that. But like I said, all the brotherhood and culture stuff doesn't win you football games. I'm sorry, and I think that injuries are a big issue. I don't think this team has been able to come together and gel because there's a lot of personnel changes. I think it's a big issue
Yep.
because they've been hit the hardest on offense. And that is the strength of this football team. I still think it's an offense that has the ability to be elite. You can laugh at me all you want in the comments. It's fine. Have your fun, especially the folks that like to listen from opposing teams, which we appreciate greatly. But I still think the offense has the opportunity to be elite. It can't be with the amount of injuries. You brought up Eckler. You look at Eckler gets hurt. He was a starting running back. As much a nice as a story as Bill is, losing a weapon like Eck is rough. And then we don't have our best offensive weapon in Terry, who we paid a bunch of money to, right? So, but I'll tell you, if I could do just anyway, let me let you go, and then I'll
Do your thing. Do your
circle
thing. I
back.
have nothing to add. If you have something you feel good about right now, go for it.
I was just gonna say one thing that really annoys me about the injury thing is I feel like, and I could just be way off base, although I tested it with the insider. Why do we have to have this cloak of secrecy? Like with Terry as an example. Why can't you just really just tell me what his injury is? We still don't know what it is. They've never come out and told us. Is it a hip? Is it a quad? What is it? No one's explained it. And then why is there this cloak of mystery around when he's going to come back? What competitive advantages has it really given us? Right? And we just find out on a Friday he's out. Why can't we just get a full medical report on these guys and know exactly what their injury is? We never really even found out exactly what Jaden's injury is to his knee. We just know it's a knee sprain.
And we
Like,
ain't
why
gonna find
can't
out
we get
about his hamstring either.
transparency there? That we're fans. We pay their salaries, right? There's no big competitive advantage that you gain from all of this. And I know it doesn't change anything, but come on. Let's stop stringing us along. Tell me exactly what the injury is. Show me the effing x-rays. Like, give me exactly what's going on so we know what we're dealing with, right?
Yeah, it's. I
Anyway,
mean,
that's
and
a I
the
know that's a tangent, but
well, and the
I
injury
hate
thing
all
too.
the not knowing what the heck is going on with these injuries.
This is a I said it. The cardiac commanders has turned into the commander calamity. That's where we're at this year. This is the commander's
Yeah,
calamity because it is just a perfect storm, and you can take it all the way back to some of the moves you made in free agency, to the Terry holdout, to the injuries that happened throughout camp, and so through some of the choices that were made in terms of the way they want to build the team. But this is the perfect storm of everything that could have gone wrong to just collapse this team and make everything that you felt so good about last year, aside from number 5, start to feel really not so great. And there's a thing, like I tweeted out, like there's no wrong answer, frankly. You want to say coaching's been bad. Cool. You want to say the Terry holdout set bad vibes in camp and brought things down. Cool. You want to say we shouldn't have let guys like Jeremy Chin, who were flawed but good contributors to the team. You want to say you shouldn't have let those guys go. Cool. You want to say they didn't do enough to help the defense. Cool. You want to say, hey, your big signing being Javon Kinlaw, who's getting triple teamed every play because you don't have an edge, is not enough. Cool.
Yeah.
Where's Johnny Newton? Like, there's not a single thing you can say to me about why things are going wrong with this team, aside from it's Jaden Daniels' fault. I can't agree with that, although injuries are becoming a thing that it's bad luck, whatever, it's early. But aside from you telling me that when Jaden's been on the field, he's been negative wins above replacement, there's not a single thing you can tell me that I wouldn't disagree with you about at this point. And I think if you wanted to be the guy that predicted
Negative
that,
wins above replacement a good thing?
no, that's a bad
I
thing.
don't even know.
Wins above replacements is you want positive. You are contributing more wins to the team above what your replacement level position would be. Anyways, you don't like it's the people that predicted regression or predicted a step back from Jaden. Peace. Maybe that was the fair outlook to have after the way things went last year, after the amount of close games we won. This is not that. This is core
It's the team.
in this is core internal struggle right now. This is not they took a step back, they're not going to get every bounce. This is this team is bad. It is the B word, is bad right now. Like what has been on the field for 7 weeks is a 3-4 football team that is bad. That's what we've seen.
Yeah. I mean, I thank God Denver kicked that field goal at the end of the Giants game. Otherwise, we'd be in last place. And that's
Gave that
loser
thing
talk.
away.
That's loser talk because it looks like
Well,
the
we're losers right now, frankly.
Giants played a hell of a game, but I couldn't. That was the only silver lining out of this whole thing was that they lost because every other team in the division, it was pretty close to being every team in the division but us won. Yeah, I mean, look, this was always a rebuild. That's the reality of it. And it was on your way to a rebuild. How do we get competitive? And to their credit, last year, they put together a really competitive football team. Um, and I think that it can still be a very competitive football team. We saw it in Los Angeles, you know, but I think unfortunately, the way this team is structured, where the major flaw is it goes as the offense goes. And the offense is beat up all to heck right now. Quarterback's beat up. Your top four weapons, because if you throw Eck in the mix, your top four weapons are all out. That wasn't the game plan coming into this thing, and I think that it's really had a big impact on everything. And I think it's how do you dig out of this is the next big question. You can't be confident going into the game against the Chiefs, who are rolling right now at home, with at best an injured Jaden Daniels, and at worst a Marcus Mariota. I don't know. It's impossible to think we could win that game. But then it might be okay. You're 3-5. Can you start rallying from there? Can you get healthy and start rallying? And it could happen. And I think all we can do as fans is, hope the coaches, who I do believe are good coaches, make adjustments. Um, maybe there's certain players that can start to step up that aren't getting a chance right now that we give a chance, and we got to get healthy. We've got to get healthy.
Yeah, it's like I said, there's things about all of this that like the injury stuff is I was saying, going through this week as we're getting into this week, I'm saying, hey, I think the Terry injury has gone really underrated. I was texting with you about it after our last post game.
Yep.
I was saying, hey, I think like that probably is like a 1 to 1.5 game swing when you combine the Terry
No
and the
doubt.
James injuries. And if you have Jaden and if you have Terry for the first, 5 weeks of the season, given everything else that we've gone through for the first 6 weeks, maybe you're looking at 4-2, or even if you get a couple lucky bounces, 5-1, right? But you didn't, and it's been what I've seen from the rest of from the other 51 guys has made me feel like we gave up 40 to Atlanta as well. It was
Yeah,
again, it was 10-10 against the Raiders. Like this team is having there's core fundamental. This is my final thought, and then we can talk about what to expect from here and how we can dig out of this. Right? That's how I want to wrap this thing up.
yeah, me too.
But my final thought is like I look at this team and like, what's the win condition? What is the right now? Not what was it on paper 7 weeks ago. Based off of what you've seen in the last 2-3 weeks, which the NFL is a week to week league, we hear it every week. Right now, the teams that are showing up and playing, what's the win condition? And there's no answer to that question. And
What's
that's
the
what
win condition?
how does this team win? What is the
I
thing
can
that
answer
this
it.
team does to best their
I
opponent?
I can answer it, right? To me, you've got to get healthy on offense. You got to get your weapons back because you have to be multidimensional, which we can be as an offense when we've got Jaden Daniels, when we've got Terry McLaurin, when we've got Deebo Samuel. The problem is we become one dimensional, which is a run team, and they're stacking the box and they're taking that away. And Luke McCaffrey had a test today. He has many catches as you did out there. We had a little fun with superimposing your head.
It
You
was
asked for it,
appropriate.
by the way,
It was
right?
appropriate.
As if you were going to play this week because we were so bad on the receiver. He failed his test. I don't know if it's his fault or not. I don't know if he was running open and just got missed, but I
So
think
did
the
Jalen Lane,
win
by the way.
condition to ask you, he had three at least.
And he had a couple drops as well, and
Yeah,
bad ones. Drops for
yeah,
first downs.
yeah. So those guys aren't ready. So we've got to get our best players back. I think, how good would it be to see a healthy Deebo Samuel, a healthy Terry McLaurin, and a healthy JD5 and healthy running back group? How good would that be to see what we can do? And to see it for multiple weeks back to back to back, because honestly, the only way to dig out of this season is to get on a bit of a roll, to start putting some wins together
Yeah,
back to back to back, And I'm not saying it's impossible that can happen because all we can do right now as fans is just root for the team and see what happens each week. I think it's definitely shifted. We've gone from a favorite to an underdog. We're gonna. We'll look. I'll look it up what the early line is for next week, but it can't be good.
lay the points.
Yeah. So, but I think the win condition. I sound like a broken record. It's going to go through the offense. The offense has got to control the ball, got to sustain drives, got to stop going 3 and out in the first drive of every freaking game. And I think they've got the ability to do that when we have all our weapons back. But we
They've
don't know when
been
that's going to be and how big a hole we're going to have dug by that point. That's the problem.
Yeah, and that's the concern. And
That's the
especially
problem.
when you look at, is Jaden going to miss another 2 weeks? Now, Lamar had a hamstring; he's out 3 weeks, right?
You're staring
Is
3-5 in the face.
no, I mean, you're
You're
3-5.
staring 3-5 in the face.
I was going to try and move around. I have a gig next Monday. I was going to try and see if I could, get out a little early so I could get to the game.
Do yourself a favor.
Why do I waste my time? I'd rather work. At
Nine
this
and a
point.
half.
Yeah,
Nine and a half is the line.
lay the points. I mean, Atlanta blew that line out of the water, so lay the points. But yeah, I mean, you're staring not only 3-5 in the face, but what is Sam Darnold going to do to this defense? What are the Lions going to do to this defense? What is your answer for Jahmyr Gibbs? I mean, you've got Javonte Williams looking like Barry Sanders around the edge. DeAndre Swift reincarnated himself last week. What's your answer for Jahmyr Gibbs? And there's no Ben Johnson this year to make Jameson Williams throw the football. And
No,
don't even. I mean,
your only possible answer is to get
because you got to
healthy on
score
offense.
50.
Yeah, that's it. It's to get healthy on offense, sustain
Yeah,
drive, score. Hope you get a couple of bounces defensively. That's it. That's what you got this year, and that's not good.
that's what. And frankly,
It's not good.
it's it's what you had last year, and it's pretty, in my opinion, unacceptable with the amount of draft picks and cap space you had that we're here now. It's very disappointing.
Yeah, it's a circumstance
Um,
of the situation because I'm not going to take anything away from last year. I don't like the whole it was lucky and all this. I think that's crap. I'm going to use a worse word than that, but I'll stick with that. So, um, but it created this false sense of arrogance about this team. There's this false sense of confidence. There's this false sense of we're better than we were. And the only thing, that might work is the fact that we are going to be underdogs now, right? We're going to be severe underdogs. And I'd feel better about that underdog position if we were healthy and we had our best players out there to make a run at it because I still believe in five, right? I still believe that he can make up for a lot of sins. And he's shown that in the last couple of weeks, right? And you said even this game, he led the drive to get us to 15 points and put us within striking distance, which under normal circumstances, you'd expect your defense to be able to stop them with only a minute left on the clock, at least maybe hold them to a field goal, right?
yeah.
So, but I think we just got overconfident. The team just got overconfident, and they played that way. They played overconfident, and they shouldn't be anymore. I mean, if there's one little silver lining we can draw from this, is they shouldn't be overconfident anymore.
Well,
Because
what happened to the bags drills? What happened to the intensity? What happened to the fire and the grit? It's like, say what you will about previous situations and whatever, and then last year, but last year, despite how the reason they won a lot of close games last year was because they simply outwilled what was in front of them every week. That's what they did. And then when they lost because they either made a critical error at a time they couldn't afford to, or they just ran into a buzzsaw like they ran into the Eagles in the NFC Championship game. But every week you knew, regardless of the matchup, the personnel, the injuries, whatever it was, regardless of what was going on, you were going to have the team that brought the most intensity, the most fire, and the most excitement to the game, regardless. And this year, I have not seen that other than week 1 and maybe week 3 against a Raiders team that was dead before the season started.
but they were for the most part, especially through the playoff run, they were underdogs last year.
I
They had to
know,
go on
and
the road. They had to fight. They just there's a cult. There can be
I
when you have a roster deficit like we clearly have in talent. You have to out hustle the other team. Like I've played on some, I was a soccer player, not a football player, American football player, but I've played on some teams that didn't have as much talent as the other team, but we we knew we played to our strengths and we
yep.
out hustled the other team and we would win. We would win a lot of games, you know, and it was because of that much more so than just pure talent. And it's different at the professional level. I think talent is going to win out most of the time, and we just don't. It's a rebuild, and we just don't have the talent. And thinking that culture and rah rah is going to make up for all of that, but it must be said, we've been hit extremely hard with injuries. If I was gonna tell you coming into this season that Jaden Daniels would play at this point, what is it? 3 full games out of 7? What would you have said? What would you
Yeah,
have
I
expected
mean,
the record to be?
exactly what it is.
And Terry McLaurin would have played what, 2 full games of those
Yeah,
7?
yeah. It's a disaster.
And
It's a complete
so
disaster.
I think, we can get angry and we got the bounces last year. We were really healthy. We're not this year. We're not getting the bounces. I could, ball slipping through your quarterback's hands last week, and we're not healthy, and we can't overcome that.
And there are, in my opinion, major schematic issues, specifically defensively. Um, and it is what it is. This is what we got. I got news for all of you. Joe Witt Jr. is going to be your defensive coordinator for the rest of this year and probably next year. I have no doubt, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I have no doubt on that.
But let me ask you a
The
question.
craziest thing that's going to happen is Quinn's going to take over the play calling next year.
But let
But
me ask you a question, and it's just really quick. Why do we think it's a schematic issue when we
because
all agree that the talent is poor?
because I'll tell you exactly why I
That's where
think it's a
and I'm
schematic issue.
asking it honest. I don't know, so I'm asking it like it's an
I'll tell
honest
you
question, right? Why do we point to schematics when we know the talent is lacking?
because I will tell you exactly why, and it's a great question, and I don't think enough people are asking it and answering it, and it's a shame that it's happening 36 minutes and 50 seconds into this
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah, because we can't spend a lot of time on it. So, quick answer.
Because it doesn't matter who's been back there, and we've overhauled it, and we're seeing the same stuff. You can't seal the edges in the run game. You can't stop explosives in the pass game. Do you think Marshawn Lattimore and Bobby Wagner have gotten dumber? No. Why can't they figure out communication? Why is Marshawn Lattimore looking at Bobby Wagner going like that and vice versa on every play? On every play. They are confused and they are lost back there. So they're back there playing on pure. Do you think Frankie Luvu got worse in football between this year and last year? No, they changed his role. They said
They're
it.
all fair points. They're all fair points.
They said it. That's my
Yeah.
feel. I'm sorry. I know I got a little hot on it, but
No,
that's
no, no.
that's
You
my
answered it. You
that's
answered
my
it
breakdown
well.
on it. And I think at the end of the day, is Marshawn Lattimore an all-pro player? No. Is he better than Emmanuel Forbes? Why do we
No,
have
no.
similar production? They're
I've
in the
been on
same
the
system.
page of arguing. I would say this real quick, super fast.
Yeah, yeah.
I do think that Bobby Wagner's shelf life is starting to expire. Great player, legend. Has given you everything he got, makes up a lot of it with incredible smarts, incredibly smart football player.
Yeah.
Probably too slow to play this game anymore. I think that Jeremy Reeves as a starting safety is a problem. Love Jeremy, special teams ace. He's not a starting safety in this league, and we've got no edge. So I feel like there's a real and I everything you said about coaching piece, I couldn't argue with any of those points. They were great points. Shows why you're the brains of this operation. But we don't have we're lacking talent in some really key spots, and we haven't invested enough in the defense. I don't give anyone blame for that, by the way, because we just had a horrible roster. These guys inherited a horrible roster. So maybe some of what you're saying, changing the scheme, changing people's roles, go back to my comment around there's just arrogance around this team and an overconfidence. And hopefully they've gotten the slap in the face. They understand that that is gone and they've got to reset. And hopefully that means that, look, I'm going to overreact now. I've given up on any kind of good year or playoff run this year. I've officially given up on it. Prove
Me
me
too.
wrong. Okay. But what I would like to see is that they can rally and that they can, you know, compete. I would like to see that. Whatever that means record wise or where we finish, I don't know. But I would like to see them rally and compete.
Yeah.
And I think if they get healthy, we've got a chance at that. But you're right. They need to make some changes on defense.
Yeah. I think I said it last week. I stand by it. Closing thoughts. I think this team is the Cincinnati Bengals. I think you've got an elite quarterback. You've got an explosive offense when that elite quarterback is healthy and things are firing the way they're
And his
supposed to be, and you
weapons
don't
are
have
healthy.
injuries, and he has his weapons around him. But unfortunately, that makes you in the National Football League, where everybody's good every week, as our insider said. National Football League is hard. That makes you just good enough to hit a couple teams in the mouth and then end up around 10-9. I mean, I see 6 for this team right now, but that's besides the point.
I'm not going to do that game.
It doesn't make you legit, is the point. The
Yeah.
Bengals haven't been legit for quite some time. I don't think you could get anybody to argue today that this team is legit right now. And it's got to be better top to bottom.
Well, just a word of advice, since I'm like the old, maybe not necessarily the wise one,
The
but I'm the old
Sage.
one of this group. At this point, lower your
You've been called
expectations.
wise.
Lower your expectations. I'm not going to call myself wise. Lower your expectations and watch every game every week and root for the team and hope they do the best they can. Hopefully, we get 5 back and we get to enjoy watching him do his thing, and we get Terry back and we get to enjoy watching him do his thing. And it's all we can do. But I think why don't we just quickly touch on the week? It's going to be a little bit of a different week this week. We're not going to post a pod on Thursday because it's my fault. I am
Pops on the lamb.
I'm busy. I'm busy, and I'm unavailable to do it. So we're just gonna. And given that it's a Monday night game, we'll do a pregame pod for the Monday night game that we'll release
Yeah,
on
over the
Monday.
weekend.
We will get our bada bets. We'll social media our bada bets picks out and give you the record there. But we are gonna take a mini buy on the Thursday pod this week.
Go over the tape, figure out what's going on, see if there's
Yeah.
some personnel or some schematic issues. Yeah, let's wrap this thing up, man. Nothing more that can be said. I was about to go on another tangent, and it's not productive. Let's wrap this
No.
thing up.
Let's wrap it.
Without further ado, I've been Dom.
This is Pop.
Thank you all for another. Can we call it great? Another week, and we'll see
Great.
you. We'll see you guys next weekend for the pregame. Hail to the Commanders.
Yeah.